Hey, what is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. We are going to be talking about Spotify stock and whether or not you should buy on this dip. So first, we are going to look at the market cap, the beta, and the earnings date, and then we are going to watch this YouTube video, and then we are going to look at some more financials slash balance sheet slash ratios. All right. Let's get into it. And if you enjoy this type of content, then make sure to smash that like button and hit the subscribe button. So they have a market cap of $53.6 billion. So in order for them to double, it has to go to $106 billion. Then they have a beta of 1.57, which means that if the S&P 500 goes up 1%, they usually go up 1.57%. They have a negative EPS, and then they have earnings day on April 28th, which I think they are easily going to beat expectations. But and they have a 1 year estimate of $323, which is a nice little cushion from the current price. All right, let's look at this video featuring Daniel Ek. So this is a Spotify CEO slash founder, and I love investing in founder led companies because usually the founders, they're not worried about the next quarter or the next 2 quarters or maybe even the next 3 quarters. They're worried about the next 3 years, the next 4 years, the next 5 years. And that's what you want to see in a growth long term company. And Daniel Ek, if you look at his Wikipedia page, then you can see he's a very smart person, a very educated man. But let's get into this interview. Or in this interview.
Hi, I'm Daniel Ek, the founder and CEO of Spotify. Wherever you're watching from, wherever you are in the world, we're really glad you're joining us. Today, we want to show you what's next for Spotify and for audio. But before we talk about where it's all going, let me say a few words about where it all started. I spent my childhood in Rågsved, a short distance from here, and at night, I'd stare up at the ceiling in my room and I'd dream of faraway places. Someday I'd hope I'd travel the world. But until that day, it was music that carried me there. Before I ever got to Britain, Led Zeppelin showed me around. Before I ever set foot in the United States, Bob Dylan gave me a tour. With nothing but a pair of headphones, music took me places I'd never been.
So far we can already see that Daniel Ek is very passionate about the subject, and he really enjoys music and he really loves the industry that he's in. Alright, let's just continue the video.
But something about sound still transfixes us all. The desire to create and connect through audio is foundational to the human experience. And I don't believe it's a coincidence that the basic unit of music, the beat, echoes the human heartbeat. For Spotify, audio is our history and it's our future. In 2006, the music industry was collapsing. Piracy was killing it. The idea that all music should be free for the taking, no matter the cost and effort, destroyed the careers of a lot of working artists. We believed there had to be a better way, so we founded Spotify. And we knew our platform had to be nothing short of revolutionary.
So what he means by 2006 the music industry was collapsing, here we can see music industry growth last 20 years. This is what I'm talking about. So here we can see that in the red we have like the physical stuff, like when probably our parents would go to the store, to the radio store or whatever, and then they would just go through the tapes and all that and all those different things and those discs. This is what the red is. And then we have the yellow, the orange, and then we have the my bad. Then we have like the cyan blue, and then we have like I think it's like purplish or dark blue, which is streaming. And here we could obviously see that if it wasn't for streaming, the music industry would just be in the gutter right now. I don't know where they would be if it wasn't for the music industry, of course. And clearly, Daniel X saw a opportunity, and he decided to capitalize on that opportunity. All right, let's keep on watching.
If we were going to stand a chance of getting people to abandon piracy and pay for music again. Spotify would have to be faster, more responsive, and more personalized. And it would have to be a more exciting and engaging way to listen to music. 15 years later, we are more committed than ever. We still believe in audio first. We still want to be the soundtrack to your life. And if you're an artist or a podcaster with a song to share, an album to drop, or even a story to tell, we want Spotify to be the best place for you to find an audience. And it is, because our platform is wired for connection. It's connecting listeners with the audio they love and connecting creators with the fans who find meaning in their art and who won't just follow their career, but will sustain it. These goals reinforce each other. A more connected.
Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but lately on Spotify, I've been seeing a lot more like podcasts and a lot more artists coming on Spotify. And this is kind of his overall goal for the long run. He wants to see everything, he wants everything music related to be exactly on one app on your phone that you can simply just get by going to the App Store. That's his overall goal, which is a great goal to have for the long term and a great mindset.
More engaged community of listeners creates more demand and more opportunities for artists and podcasters to make a living from their work. And the more people we're creating, the more there is for our users to discover. It's a virtuous cycle, a flywheel, and it's propelling Spotify and the audio industry forward. Over the past decade and a half, what we've seen and helped drive is an audio renaissance. And I use that word intentionally. It really is a renaissance. And what it is not is a restoration. We're moving forward, not turning the clock back. People love to look back fondly on the music industry of 2 decades ago, the era of the record store and FM radio, a time before piracy. And I understand the nostalgia, I get it. As a kid, I remember spending hours at my local record store, flipping through the bins and selecting what albums to buy. But looking back, what really strikes me is how limiting it was. The amount of music you could discover back then was limited by shelf space and floor space, by the physical distribution capabilities of music companies, by the personal preferences of our radio DJ, and of course, by where you lived and how much you could afford to spend. There were also fewer possibilities for creators. The shelves and the airwaves could only support so many artists, and industry gatekeepers could only invest in so many artists.
So basically what he's saying right now is that back then everything was so limited, and in order for artists to actually like go on the come up, they had to get kind of lucky that somebody were to just happen to see their disc in the radio store or whatever, or if they were to hear their music on the radio inside the car. That's the only way that they would actually have a platform to be able to, make their dream come true. And what he's trying to do is give artists a opportunity to have the platform that they deserve on Spotify. And I think that he also has like the same mindset, kind of like what Amazon has, in which, because like in the bookstore there's only so many books that could fit inside of a bookstore, but with Amazon, just like you type in a couple words and that's it. You can find the book exactly what you wanted. Every single book in the world is probably on Amazon, and if not, close. So basically, that's like kind of what he's trying to say. It's like he wants to make it simpler for artists, but at the same time, it's benefiting artists and it's also benefiting Spotify in the way that more people have more music to hear.
A lot of great music was put out in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but unfortunately, Many more never got a chance. Over the past 2 decades, streaming has fundamentally changed the audio ecosystem. It's lowered barriers to entry and it democratized access to audio for listeners across the world. More creators are creating and succeeding than ever before. 20 years ago, the music industry was a pretty restrictive club. Unless you had the resources to produce a physical product and distribute it to record stores and get your song on the radio, it was difficult to break through. Case in point, back in 2002, just over 30,000 albums were released in the US, and only 8,000 sold more than 1,000 copies, representing 98% of sales of new releases. By comparison, in 2020, 1.8 million albums were released on Spotify in the US, and 6 times as many albums represented 98% of the streams for these releases. So it's not just the possibility that more artists can be heard by a global audience, it is that more artists are being heard. This means that meaningful income is flowing to more artists than ever before. When Spotify launched in Sweden in 2008, the combined market of physical and digital music sales amounted to about 17 billion. Streaming represented 300 million of that, or only 2% of the sales globally. And at the industry's low point in 2014, the combined total dropped another 3 billion to 14 billion. But with streaming, we've helped the global music industry go from contraction to growth. In 2019, the total revenue of the recording industry was just over 20 billion. And more than half of that revenue, 11.4 billion, came from streaming. And here's what that audio renaissance looks like from our front row seats of Spotify. Since 2008, Spotify has expanded from 1 market to 93, and from thousands of listeners to more than 345 million.
This right here is just showing the scalability on how well they were able to scale their business model. Let me resume.
From paying out approximately $500,000 to creators in 2008 to paying out more than $5 billion in 2020. Our platform has grown exponentially, and it's going to keep growing. We didn't want to confine our app to some walled garden, to just a few devices. Our users have a nearly limitless choice of devices. So to meet them where they were, we needed to be everywhere. Today, Spotify is available on more than 2,000 different devices, everything from smartphones to smart speakers, and from car audio systems to gaming consoles. And that spirit of...
And I also know that when you go inside of the store and to look at a phone or whatever, an iPhone, I'm pretty sure it's only with an iPhone, but then if you go to like the home screen, Spotify is automatically installed. So that's just free like marketing for them also.
Innovation is stronger than ever. 3 years ago, Spotify had 3 million creators on our platform. Every year since, that number has increased from 4 million to 5 million to 8 million at the end of 2020. I believe that by 2025, we could have as many as 50 million creators on our platform.
Again, this is what I was saying. He clearly has a long-term view. 50 million creators. Do you know how many that is? That'll generate Spotify so much revenue. If they're bringing in around they're bringing in around $9 billion in revenue right now with only 8 billion creators. Imagine how much revenue they could generate with 50 million creators, and that's not even counting, all the other stuff that they have as like products and stuff.
This art is enjoyed by a billion users around the world. And that's not a prediction or a goal. It's really both a challenge and a great opportunity. We're in the midst of an explosion of audio creation, the early innings of what we see as a truly global creative economy. In the coming years, as more and more people become audio creators, Spotify will enable the best of them, the ones that are highly driven, highly talented, and resonate with a group of fans to grow their audience and build their careers on our platform. We want to be the place where educators and entrepreneurs and storytellers and authors, well-known personalities and artists are all able to reach out and touch the world through audio. And that brings me to Spotify's mission: to unlock the potential of human creativity by giving 1 million creative artists the opportunity to live off of their art, and billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by it. That's been our aspiration, the point on the horizon that we're striving toward. And yeah, it's ambitious, but it's also essential. If the creative economy is going to thrive, we need to ensure that audio creation can be a profession and not just a side project. Today, we're going to show you how we're empowering the most talented creators in the world to turn their passion into a profession. But before I pass the mic, I wanted to say a few words about the goal of bringing audio to the world. Spotify is currently available across nearly half of the world, but there are still millions of creators and billions of listeners who don't yet have access to Spotify. So I'd like to share some news. Over the next few days, we'll be expanding Spotify's global footprint significantly. This move will make Spotify available to more than 1 billion people in new markets around the world, with nearly half of them already using the internet.
This is such a smart, great intellectual move by Spotify. This is exactly what you want to hear from one of the companies that you own. This is also just one of the reasons why Spotify is such a high conviction play for me. Like, do you hear what this guy's saying? 1 billion,
This move will make Spotify available to more than 1 billion people in new markets.
I had to replay that again because it just seemed like unreal. 1 billion new people. Guys, the world is around how many? The world is around like 8 billion people. Pretty sure that's how much it is. You're expecting 1 billion people in the upcoming days. That is a incredible number. That is spectacular. The scalability and the high barriers to entry, because it's obvious that Spotify does not have any other competitors. Like, come on, guys, be realistic. Apple, it doesn't even compete with Spotify. Neither does Amazon Play, I think it's called, or Amazon Music, whatever it's called. Neither does that. Like, come on, it's clear that Spotify is a winner in its industry.
Markets around the world, with nearly half of them already using the internet. A little later, we'll tell you more about what that will mean. And when we do, I hope you'll remember it's just the beginning. Years from now, I believe we'll see this moment for what it really was: an overture. The first brilliant moments of a new golden age of audio. For creators, for listeners, for Spotify, for audio, the best is yet to come.
Wow, what a great video. This just shows how Daniel Ek is just a great CEO and how he has such a long-term view on Spotify. Alright, since I want to make this video a bit shorter, we'll just do a quick review on like the valuation and like the estimates and stuff like that. Alright, well, that doesn't really matter. And let's look at financials. So let's look at their balance sheet. And by the way, this is their total revenues. So right now their balance sheet has around $1.6 billion in cash. I mean, of course, they don't have that much in cash because they're constantly reinvesting in the company to be out there in the world so everybody has access to Spotify. And then short-term investments, they have some. And let's look, where is that? Total assets, they have $6 billion in total assets, $2.9 billion in total liabilities. That's around a what? A like 2 total, a 2.3 I think total, which is total assets total liabilities versus total liabilities, which you always want to see that above 1. That's really good. I mean, 3, so it's like 2, yeah. And then let's look at their total debt. They have, well, their net debt is actually negative. That means that they have enough cash to cover their debt, and their total debt right now is $608 million, which is really nothing to Spotify, which you also like to see a growing company without that much debt. But if they were to take on debt, I wouldn't worry too much. And we can see that their cash flow is negative, but they're not really worried about the next couple of quarters and how much revenue they're gonna be making in the next year, or like anything shorter of that. They're gonna be worried about the net income and all of that in the next 5 years or so. So this doesn't really matter to me right now at their current stage. And now let's look at their estimates. So they have a 2021 estimate of 19.4% revenue change and 19.5% revenue change in 2022. That is insane. That clearly means that other investors have the same view as I do in the company. I think that I actually think that they'll beat these estimates, as every time I see more and more creators going on the platform, more and more podcasts, and Spotify just has great marketing with like the Joe Rogan show, and I expect them to do purchases of other shows too. So clearly they have high expected growth in the next 2 years, which is also incredible. And their EBITDA is expected to grow 71% this year. And then 2022, 354%. And 25%. That is higher than the 2019 EBITDA change. That is incredible for a company like Spotify. And they have a market cap of $53 billion. Like, come on, guys. So yeah, this is basically just a analysis on Spotify stock, and overall they're going to be easily a leader in the streaming industry. I mean the music, like in like the audio streaming industry, for the next 5-10 years. I am not worried about this company at all. This is one of my high conviction plays. I'm glad I allocated capital into Spotify. And if they dip, I will keep on allocating capital into Spotify. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys have any questions, and if you guys want me to review any stocks, comment down below. Alright, thank you. Peace.